Hello, lads. I wanted to talk about a really thought provoking documentary that I saw today. And that documentary is called Birth Gap. And you can watch it you can watch the first half of it on YouTube, and you can see the second half, I believe, for free on the website that the filmmaker himself owns. But the documentary is about the population decline nearly uniformly across the world, with certain exceptions. We have seen this happen. We have seen something unprecedented in human history, and that is populations not reproducing to replacement levels. And this is happening not just in the West, it's also happening in countries like Japan and South Korea in the East. It's happening in South American countries like Brazil. And as I said, it's a according to the movie, it's a trend just all over. And the reason, what's behind it, what provoked it, what made this all happen, is of course not monocausal. There are probably a lot of different reasons for it, but one of the things that's addressed in the movie that I think is really interesting, and it's something that I did not know before, and it's something that I think is worth talking about because it seems quite significant. Again, if you view this population decline as a crisis, which it is, at the very least, what you have going on is a lot of countries in which there's an aging population and there's fewer and fewer people to take care of and look after older people who are in need of care, because you have a population that's very heavy, very very high in number, on the in the upper numbers, but the farther you get down, the less and less people there are, and there are far fewer children now than there used to be. And again, this is all over. Like as I said, there are certain exceptions to this rule, but it's those exceptions prove the rule. And it hasn't gotten to the point yet where the population itself has declined. The population will apparently rise a bit more, but then if current trends continue, it will take a nosedive. And this is a disheartening trend, I would say, for any number of reasons. And of course, it flies right in the face of the depopulationist and the depopulationist agenda that we get from ghouls like the WEF and people like Bill Gates and other rich and powerful entities and organizations who have clear agendas in mind for wanting there to be fewer people in the world, and for a long time, for several decades, they've fearmongered on this point. That there's just so many of us, and it's going to be disastrous. And you even had that movie Soylent Green, where like there was no room anywhere to lie down in the world because there's just too many people. And you had this documentary that I'm talking about, Birth Gap, even has a couple of interesting scenes near the beginning where you have even somebody like Richard Nixon, who you think wouldn't be parroting these globalist talking points, but he's saying, do we really have to make extra special sure that in the future our cities don't become just impassable because there's just so many people around everywhere. And it's a terrible thing, and we've got to do something about it. It's our responsibility. That's my Richard Nixon impression. Yeah, great. I know. I'm not an impressionist, but we've heard that for so long, and it's a lie. The exact opposite is true. The reverse is true. So, the most interesting thing that is revealed in this movie Birth Gap, which I guess I'm giving a plug for here, a free plug. I'm not getting any kind of kickback from them. But something that the movie reveals is the real source of the decline in the population. Now, as far as societal sources, there's obviously lots of things. There's feminism is a huge culprit in my mind. The pushing women into the workplace, whether they want to be or not. This sort of telling women you're valueless unless you pursue a career first, and then have a bunch of and contracept and just have a bunch of as what's her name says, that awful woman, you know, date the bad boys, date the cool guys, and then when you get in your 30s, then you can settle down and maybe have a kid or two. They're taught that their value is that they should be just like men and they should work like men, which is a violation of biology, of course, but so are so many other things that are being taught today by supposedly smart people. That's just one more. But even with that, even putting that aside, even talking about women in the workplace and other sorts of things, and the rise of hedonism and the sexual revolution, which are real actual events and actual mindsets, and they've been seeded into our consciousness, I believe, by the kind of people who are trying to steer us down a particular route. But even with all of that happening, the main culprit, the main thing that's bringing population down, is childless women. Now, I don't mean to say that accusingly. I'm just saying it observationally. And the movie makes this point. What do I mean when I say childless women are the main source of the decline? Well, it turns out that among people who are reproducing, people who are getting married and having children, which is still the typical way of doing it, although some places, some people do it differently in a different order, or some never get married. But in any case, what you have is the same family structures as ever. There are just as many people having large families as there were, 30, 40 years ago, according to the documentary. There are just as many people having moderate-sized families, one or two children. There aren't more. Something I would have thought would be that there would be more smaller families now, but that's apparently not the case. There are just as many. The ratio between smaller families, i.e., families in which there are just a couple of kids or just one kid, and the only child phenomenon is still pretty rare, and I happen to be one of them. Which explains a lot. I know you're probably thinking that right now, but anyway, the amount of, or the proportion of smaller families with just one or two kids to larger families with three or four or more kids is is the same as ever, the same as it ever was. So in some ways, just the normalcy is continuing. It's continuing, but the big outlier and the thing that is the phenomenon that is causing the population decline is the number of women who are going childless. So, it's not because people are having smaller families than they used to. It's not because larger families are a thing of the past. They're not. They're a thing of the present as much as they were a thing of the past, according to this documentary again. So, none of that is what's really driving the population decline everywhere that it's happening. What's driving the population decline are women who aren't having any children. So there's a larger and larger percentage of childless women. And I can't remember the exact numbers right now, but that it was something like, in Italy in the early 1970s, it used to be like 1 in 20 women would be childless. Something a very low number, and now it's more like 1 in 3, or 1 in 4. A very very high number of women are childless. Now, what's causing that? Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, there are different. I mean, I think, something I've already talked about, feminism and the push to the the depopulationist agenda of the elites, and the push to make women behave just like men, and put their careers first. Obviously, that takes its toll. But I'm not sure that explains all of this, because you would think that among the larger family, the women who are getting married and having children, most of them have probably been in the workforce, or maybe have gone back to the workforce after a couple of years, of staying home with child number one, and then maybe they come back in a more staggered sort of way, but in any case, it's I think that women in the workforce includes women who are married and have children. The larger families where they would tend to be the most traditional, and where the women wouldn't work at all. I mean, that I don't even know if that's possible anymore. Given current economics, unless you're from a very wealthy family, and you have a lot of generational wealth, or you're inheriting a lot of wealth, or the man in the family makes a lot of money. Have more and more women who are childless, who are not having children, and this isn't necessarily because they have decided children aren't for me. In fact, they talk to a lot of in the documentary. They talk to a lot of women who who are now in their mid to late 30s, and they realize they've missed their chance, probably, barring some semi miracle. They miss their chance to reproduce, and they miss it. They mourn it. I guess there'd be some people who would say it's their own damn fault. This, I don't want to be punitive here. I don't want to be. I don't want to wag my finger at anybody. I think for some women, some women have been just brainwashed into the career woman mode. You're not really a legitimate person unless you're all into your career. But and I don't have. I should also add that I don't have a problem with people making up their own minds and choosing to live their lives the way that they see fit and that works best for them. So if there are, I mean, there always have been a certain number of women who haven't felt inclined to have children. But the point is, in the past, that was a small number. Today, it's a much, much larger number. And you have to, one is led to deduce that larger number is composed of not just of women who would never have wanted to have children at all, but it's also composed of women who are mourning their loss, who have missed that opportunity, didn't know that it was going to come and go so quickly, and or just didn't think about it, didn't while it was a possibility that it was, they just didn't think it was quite the time yet, and then before they knew it, they were too old, and they didn't have their eggs weren't as fertile as they once were. So I just think that's a pretty wild fact that the entire the population decline across nations again, not just in the West. It seems that it has struck certain countries the hardest, and those countries seem to be that are mentioned in the documentary. Those countries are Japan, Italy, Germany, and South Korea. I don't know what it is about those four countries, but with South Korea being the place where there's the least amount of where the population rate is just way, way, way down. But I know that across Europe that's the case pretty much, with exceptions here and there. But the exceptions always prove the rule. So I just wonder about this phenomenon of the childless woman, and the woman who is childless, not because she's infertile, not because she's as they used to say barren, but because either by choice or by I don't know, some combination of choice and not opting for it always wanting to put it off, and or not seeing it as at the time as being right now. We're seeing a lot of older women, whether they're married or not, without children. That seems like a really sad. It makes me sad. I'll just say that it's a sad situation. Uh, it would almost be more. Uh, I still think population decline is a problem. Don't get me wrong, but I think if there were more women who were at least having one child, if there were just a ton of families with an only child, like me, so there'd be a bunch more people like me in the world, which everybody would want, I'm sure. But if that were the case, then at least these women would know the experience, which it seems to me is part and parcel of womanhood, of how we were created, of giving birth, and of caring for children, nurturing children. But more and more women are that's just being, whether they're to blame for it, or whether it's just some circumstance that they find themselves in, or some combination of the two. I just find it very sad that that's where we're at right now. That's where we're headed, and that's the reason. That's the force that's really pushing the population decline. That's causing us to sink below replacement levels in so many places in the world. Most places in the world these days. So those are my thoughts, and I'll leave a link to the the video I was talking about, or the movie I was talking about. You can watch the first part on YouTube for free, and I think the second part is probably free too, although I'm not sure. But check it out for yourself and see what you think. Thanks for watching.